Welcome back to the first phase of the engineering design cycle, identifying the problem. Today we will be working on the issue of choosing a design team, if one has not already been chosen for us. As part of identifying the problem, it may be necessary to put together an entire design team, or more commonly to choose a few additional members for the team before moving on to the final selection of the design problem. Unfortunately, it only takes one member of the team to be out of line with the goals of the team to cause the whole team to slide downhill. Pulling together a functional team is absolutely critical to its success. While many projects or designs have been accomplished by a single person carrying the weight for his or her team, this situation is far from ideal and certainly not good for the mental or physical health of the one doing most of the work, nor for the future of those who are not carrying their weight on the team. Adopting a few simple practices at the start of a project, design, or otherwise to support the selection and success of a team can go a long way in reducing difficulty throughout a project. There are a few things that are important to any team's success, regardless of whether engineering design is the primary function of the team and regardless of what field of engineering the team represents. Let's first take a look at those common elements. At a very general level, there are three things that a team needs to succeed. First, a team must have synergy. No one individual can or should have all the necessary skills for the team to succeed. If this were the case, an individual might be tempted to carry the entire project on his or her own shoulders. Instead, when individuals must rely on others, the team is more likely to succeed. In addition to synergy, there is a need for harmony on the team. While this may sound corny and far-fetched, working together with a positive attitude and a productive working environment is critical to moving the team forward. Harmony certainly doesn't require being happy for every moment ever worked on the team, but it does require choosing some positive and engaging and productive activity every time the team meets and communicates. Finally, to support harmony in the team members must understand each other and buy into the common goal of the team. What often occurs on dysfunctional teams is that individuals are pursuing different goals or have different expectations of the work quality and team deadlines. There must be a clear and articulated vision of the goals, schedule, and quality that the team collectively is willing to strive for, without which the team can easily falter. In choosing a team, it can be so very tempting to just talk to the people around you, those you already know and work with, because they are the easiest to choose for your team. But it's important at the outset of any team to take a look at meeting prospective team members outside of those who are already in your personal or professional network. Ongoing professional networking has many advantages, only one of which is a better shot at selecting the best team for a design or other project. Meeting others and networking doesn't mean necessarily that you will choose these people for your design team, but meeting new and different people at the outset of team selection can increase the chances that you will indeed add an outsider to your team. And research shows that at least one new person or outsider on the team allows the team to be more creative and to be more efficient than an older or more established team. As we meet and consider each of our potential team members, it's important to be formal in understanding strengths and weaknesses of those team members, not just in terms of the knowledge they bring to the table, but also the skills they bring, both technical and non-technical. What can each individual do best? What is an individual likely to do best under deadline and stress? What does the individual tend to avoid? What are his or her personality strengths and weaknesses? What about individual interests, work ethic, personality, and so on? As we lay out strengths and weaknesses in choosing a team, It's important to be honest and to probe the strengths and weaknesses from potential team members so that choosing a team becomes more methodical than random and success more likely than lucky. When talking to a potential team member, it's important to ask direct questions about strengths and weaknesses and skills, knowledge, and personality, but also to add some indirect questions into the mix. Indirect questions can draw out strengths and weaknesses that may not otherwise percolate to the surface. Above all, remember that if someone appears to have no weakness at all, that team member merits further investigation. As all of us have our weaknesses, and failure to disclose them is a weakness to some. In the process of finding the right people, we can and should look at a variety of characteristics well beyond what an individual says about his or her skills and knowledge and personality. For example, it may be very fruitful to evaluate work ethic by looking not at what someone says, but at what someone does. Similarly, when trying to understand personality, it's very helpful to watch someone working and interacting with others. There's a wealth of information to be found in observing. Networking is also very helpful to understand potential team members. Talking with others who know someone is a great complement to talking to that someone directly. Likewise, it can be important to talk to a manager, supervisor, teacher, or other person in authority over an individual to understand an entirely different perspective than what comes from peers and colleagues. The person who is being supervised may act differently in front of a manager as compared to peers. Once we have done our homework and evaluated team members based on a formal comparison of strengths and weaknesses, it is time to select the team members and start building a team. These first team meetings and interactions are essential to building trust, the foundation of a functional team, and mistrust, the foundation of a dysfunctional team. If one team member does not trust another team member or the entire team, that person is likely to avoid being open and honest with others. This in turn leads to a fear of conflict, which thwarts healthy debate and compromises buy-in to the team goals. As conflict and debate diminish, so does a commitment to the team and its goals, followed quickly by a drop in accountability, inattention to results, and ultimately team and project failure. Have we selected the right team members? Are we more likely to enter into a functional team, or are we headed into the pyramid of dysfunction? While it's impossible to predict the ultimate success of a team, it is possible to consider and avoid common pitfalls in the team selection process. Avoiding common pitfalls at the beginning can go a long way in supporting the development of trust and a healthy, functioning team over the long haul. First, it's important to avoid teams that are formed by simply selecting people you know and work with regularly, unless you've been diligent at looking at the strengths and weaknesses that all team members on such a team bring to the table. Also, it can be valuable to avoid representative teams where the titles of individuals alone or some other characteristics determine their place on the team. It's important to go beyond what's on paper and truly take a look at the skills, knowledge, and personality that each potential team member brings to the table. Choose carefully selected team members based on consideration of multiple strengths and weaknesses. As these things are considered, and it's time to make decisions, be ready to say no to those that are assertive but ill-suited to the team. Lay out the goals of the team to each team member and listen closely to their feedback and reaction. Though tedious and easily skipped, doing these things can make a big difference in what happens next, both on the team and in the design cycle. Often, one of the most difficult parts of choosing the right team is saying no to the wrong team members. Some approaches work better than others in saying no. The first in this toolbox of saying no is to listen to the candidate's request and respect what that person has to say without interrupting. This allows the person to have a voice and to minimize the impact of perceived rejection. After listening, it is most effective to say no as simply and briefly as possible. Keeping it simple and keeping it short is less likely to put an individual on the defensive and also reduces the possibility of argumentative interactions. In particularly difficult situations, transferring ownership of the decision to something else can take the edge off of rejection. Something as simple as saying, "Well, our schedules just don't allow for you working on the team at this time," transfers the ownership of the no to scheduling conflict rather than something that's fundamentally off or wrong with the potential team member. In addition to making choosing the right team more likely, these simple techniques work in a wide range of situations where what you have to say isn't necessarily the message that the person you are speaking to needs to hear. Once we have selected a team, we should end up with a matrix that looks something similar to what is shown here. The matrix should make it obvious why each team member was chosen and how he or she complements the others on the team. Formalizing the matrix and writing it down also documents the reason why each team member is brought on board and may be useful later if things go awry on the team. In the heat of a deadline, it's often easy to forget the basics. And we should remember to avoid delegating tasks in such a way that allows weaknesses to come to the forefront rather than strengths. Our message today has been about choosing a design team methodically, smartly, and selectively. While it is tempting to choose a team on gut instinct or general feel, or in an instant, formalizing the process of understanding and considering strengths and weaknesses is well worth the effort at the beginning of the engineering design cycle and may well save time and reduce stress later. This concludes our introduction to choosing a team during the Identify the Problem phase of the engineering design cycle. Thank you for joining us. We certainly hope that this exploration of choosing a team has been helpful to more thoroughly exploring engineering design, and that you'll join us again as we take a detailed look at other phases of the design cycle.